Las gélidas temperaturas de hasta 18 grados bajo cero han provocado ya al menos 40 muertos. La mayoría son personas sin hogar fallecidas de hipotermia.
This is the 5th largest natural gas storage facility in the United States, the largest in the western United States. That's like putting all the refineries in California side by side up on top of the hill there right in Porter Ranch and letting them run. And that's how much this was putting out every single day. Methane itself is a very potent greenhouse gas, 84 times that of carbon dioxide, and a huge climate problem because of the vast gas that's escaping. It's one of about 400 facilities in the United States and about one of 14 in California that store this kind of gas. We actually know that there are a lot of leaks throughout the system in the United States where people just are totally unaware because there's no odorant in it, because it's in an unpopulated area. And it's not unique to California. You look at Boston, you look at Staten Island, you look at places like Chicago or here in Los Angeles, and this methane leakage issue, it's pervasive.
Face of this disaster, thousands of Porter Ranch residents have fled their homes to escape the dizziness, illness, and fatigue caused by the leaking gas. I mean, if Southern California Gas, the company that owns the leaking well, first reported the leak back in October, why did California wait until January to declare a state of emergency?
There used to be an oil field, so they extracted the oil from it. There is an empty oil dome now under that field, and the Southern California Gas has been using that empty oil dome to store gas in. In 1979, 36 years ago, the company learned that gas safety valve had broken. So they decided simply to remove it. But they told the regulatory agency, which is called DOGGR, the Department of Oil, Gas, Geothermal Resources, they told them that they had replaced that safety valve. But they hadn't. In order to save money, they just took it out. So there was no fail-safe. At least 30,000 residents who have been affected, and that gas is sitting on top of their schools, their hospitals, their clinics, their jobs, their animals are dying, and their children are getting sick. They're suffering nosebleeds, they're suffering terrible, debilitating migraine headaches, asthma attacks, respiratory infections, eye infections, ear infections. So this is a global crisis, because not only do you have methane, but you have benzene, toluene, xylene, which are carcinogenic. You have hydrogen sulfide, sulfur dioxide, which are neurotoxic. There's also a lot of radon gas now being measured in the area. The main thing for people to do right now is to take care of their health and get out of that area if they smell that gas.
full spectrum dominance, meaning revolution in military affairs, asymmetric warfare. We're now in a whole different ballgame in warfare ever since the discovery of all that can be done with electromagnetics. So full spectrum dominance, C4 is another term used, bandied about by the military. That's command, control, communications, and cyber warfare. The C4 domination of the electromagnetic spectrum, all the way from radio waves to gamma rays. And so if you look at it, our little band on the spectrum is just so tiny, what we can see, what we can perceive with our five senses. But there is so much more. And that is my hope is when I wrote the book, I wanted to, first of all, kill forever the ridiculous idea that chemtrails is a conspiracy theory. I also wanted to show how chemtrails and HAARP work together and how they each need each other. The experiments were very successful for the military. They were able to see how they should conduct their other agendas. And now we have ionospheric heaters all over the world. In fact, not just stationary. We have them on, they're mobile, and we have NEXRADs, radar installations on military bases galore around the world. So what is really being set up now with the chemtrails HAARP instrumentality, which is a global instrument, not to think Alaska anymore, what we have is a space fence. The interesting thing about all of these global instruments is how do they work together? Well, they need that grid. They need a grid upon which to build their operations, whether they're weather operations or weather warfare, whatever they are, targeting of individuals, targeting of entire cities, entire small nations. What was needed, what was essential to this space fence grid, and I call it a lockdown of the planet, was to ionize our atmosphere and keep it ionized. Now, an ionized atmosphere means it's battery ready, it's electric, it's ready to go for any military operation that there might be, including communications, but other things. I remember very well when Iran had a drought that seriously crippled the country just 3 or 4 years ago, and they came right flat out and said it was weather warfare from the United States. So it is a way to muscle countries into obedience. It is a way to threaten countries to go along with your program. It's also a way to make money, and that has to do with weather derivatives. We now have a term for what we're seeing. We're seeing the creation of disasters to make money. Mm-hmm. And I think right away of poor New Orleans and Katrina. When I saw that they bought up the National Weather Service and do the reporting for NOAA, and that Lockheed Martin forecasts modeling for the FAA, I got the picture. When Edward Snowden made the announcement of something I'd known for a decade was in place about the surveillance, that's really what the space fence is primarily about, surveillance. They want to be able to have access to anyone, anywhere, any place, anytime, 24/7. It's about AI. It's about the role of artificial intelligence in the future world that is now being constructed. So, if you can send at a frequency, you can pulse something, you can affect all sorts of things, because everything in the body, including the endocrine system, the brain, tissues, muscles, etc., everything has its own frequency. And so it's not hard to see that if you can electrify the entire environment and set up, and to do that, you need instruments around that can keep tweaking the chemtrails, the heavy metals in the chemtrails, keep tweaking them so that they're constantly ionized, constantly active. Then you can set up a world in which we are all part of that electric grid. We are part of what they love to call the hive mind. They don't have to necessarily zap our brains because of cyclotron resonance. We're resonating with whatever that pulse is in our environment. We resonate. We're built that way. We can see now what the elite are and aren't. I find that to be really positive. It may not feel good that our illusions are just falling one after the other, but this is how consciousness grows, is by releasing your illusions and confronting your time.
We have no more than 2 months to get things under control. With over 2,000 arrivals to the EU per day, the March European Council will be the last moment to see if our strategy works. If it doesn't, we will face grave consequences such as the collapse of Schengen.
There seems to be a problem of immigrants to integrate into German customs, to behave according to German rules, and this came to an outbreak at New Year's evening, and there will be certainly a reaction on part of German public opinion which will be less and less in support of Angela Merkel's immigration politics. There is a certain tendency of benevolence towards immigrants in Europe, and it is good that we have this attitude towards immigrants. Nevertheless, in the course of time, it could no longer be overlooked that this immigration creates problems. And although for a long period of time criminal acts on part of immigrants have been not reported adequately in the newspapers, now such behavior, in particular on New Year's evening, has got such a dimension that news coverage is simply obligatory, and this is why we find news coverage of this behavior not only from Germany but from Finland, Switzerland, Austria and so on. What we have to do is to limit the influx of refugees to Europe, because otherwise we will one day face a problem which we can no longer tackle. We know that in the Muslim countries, the role of females is quite a different one from the Western societies. The basic question is, do we want to change our cultural patterns, or do we want to control the, so to speak, influx of foreign cultural patterns?
Curiosamente, la censura oficialmente, por ejemplo, para la prensa ya no existe, aunque hay otro tipo de censuras. Pero no solo para la prensa. Las últimas noticias que vienen de Suecia me han dejado tan impresionado que yo quiero comentarles algo. Porque yo creo también que el trasfondo es muy potente y nos influye absolutamente a todos. Verán, la nueva censura evidentemente es lo políticamente correcto. Lo políticamente correcto, no sé si está bien o mal en cierto momento, pero cuando extiende sus tentáculos y lo domina todo, el periodista, el cámara, el director de una cadena de televisión, el hombre que hace un periódico, el cantante, yo que sé, cualquiera, empieza a tener un miedo cerval a no quedar mal. Y el miedo a no quedar mal te acaba convirtiendo en un títere de no sé qué ideas. Ejemplo gráfico de hasta qué punto una cosa que es ser políticamente correcto al extremo nos puede llevar al desastre. Porque, oye, cada uno puede opinar lo que quiera, pero ¿en qué momento esa otra censura acaba siendo apocalíptica? Pero cuando lo políticamente correcto y el temor a no ser del rebaño, a ser marcado por un dedo social que te diga que eres un fascista, por ejemplo, hace que el policía jefe de un país tan adelantado como Suecia se calle la información y mienta, por tanto, ¿qué está pasando? ¿Qué otras cosas no estarán pasando? Si están siendo personas, mujeres u hombres, me da igual, atacados, ¿por qué vamos a ocultar la información? Es el mismo miedo de decir algo contraproducente en las redes. Artistas, personas con larga trayectoria, y que les da miedo decir lo que piensan por cómo va a ser la reacción del público. ¿Pero esto qué es? Y somos nosotros los adalides de la libertad, ¿verdad? Y los más progres del mundo. Y queremos libertad. Pero, oja, de este tema, de esto, no se puede hablar, o se puede hablar solo de cierta manera. El poder de la censura, autocensura, de lo políticamente correcto es terrible. Así que por lo menos sepamos que esto pasa. Nadie somos santos, pero sepamos que hay conductas de pensamiento que nos castran mentalmente, a todos, hombres y mujeres, y que no hacen más que impedirnos decir lo que debemos decir en libertad. ¿Tema tremendo o no?
Heute, am 1. Januar 2016, tritt in der gesamten EU ein neues Gesetz in Kraft, das sogenannte Bail-in-Gesetz. Das Bail-in-Gesetz besagt, dass im Falle der Insolvenz der Banken Konteninhaber und Anteilseigner enteignet werden, um die Banken zu rekapitalisieren, die eigentlich geschlossen werden sollten. Das ist schlicht und einfach Diebstahl. Nach dem Finanzkrach von 2008 haben die Regierungen der G20 nichts getan, um die Casinowirtschaft zu beenden, sondern zweistellige Billionenbeträge in das transatlantische Finanzsystem gepumpt, das sogenannte Bail-out, und damit private Zockerschulden in Staatsschulden verwandelt. Heute sind die Too-Big-to-Fail-Banken, also die angeblich zu groß sind, um sie pleite gehen zu lassen, um rund 40% größer. Und ein neuer Finanzkrach ist bereits im Gang.
It's a global recession going on. When you listen to the media, first they blame China, and then they blame oil. It's one of our top trends of 2016. That's why commodity prices are falling. It's not only China, it's a lack of demand around the world, and it's a very simple equation. Far too few have much too much, and far too many have much too little. We all know about the 0.01% that controls the world's wealth, and I'm not making that number up. You have 85 people that have more dough than half the world's population, or 3.25 billion people. They can take the people to war very easily. You've heard me say this before. When all else fails, they take you to war. And that is going to be the end game unless we change it. There is no stopping this economic decline. It should have happened, but it was stopped after the panic of 2008 because of all of the cheap money that they threw into the system with quantitative easing, a word and a system made up that never happened before, and zero interest rate policy. So now they've run out of tools. And the other fact of it is that the wealth created since the panic of 2008, 95% of it went to the 1%. So what we're looking at is the worst oil collapse since OPEC really became OPEC, 1970s. Now we have to put it together into where we're going. Look what's going on in the Middle East. These dictatorships that they like to call the kings and the emirs, these countries are in deep trouble. Remember, now we're looking at oil at around $29 a barrel. Saudi Arabia needs $100 a barrel just to break even. The Middle East has exploded. It's not about to explode, it has exploded. It just hasn't made the news, just as the financial crisis that we're going through now in the equity markets has not. With the conditions going on now in the equity markets and the reality of a major crash happening, coupling on that, if there is, quote, a terrorist strike, false flag or real, you may not be able to get your money because they'll call, quote, a bank holiday. You can't get your money, and they'll devalue it. And they're devaluing currencies around the world. Prepare for the worst is my motto. If the worst doesn't happen, you lose nothing.
Yeah.
If the worst happens, you can lose everything.
transhumanism, if you listen to people like Kurzweil, you are told that transhumanism, putting technology inside the body, what they're calling implantables, will make us superhuman. No, it won't. It will make us super robots. It will make us super subhuman. We're seeing what I call the totalitarian tiptoe of assimilating human minds into technology. It's one major stepping stone to this is what is now a global addiction to smartphone technology, where we're losing the young generation. This guy, Ray Kurzweil, this Google executive who is the spokesman for Frankenstein, he has said that not too far into what we call the future, that most human thinking will be done from the cloud. What we're looking at is what I've been writing about for years, what I call the technological sub-reality. That's what he's calling the cloud. It's a Wi-Fi, if you like, a massive Wi-Fi cloud, a massive Wi-Fi technological sub-reality in the region of the planet that humans live in. It will be doing the thinking. It's rewiring the brain. It's dumbing down the brain. If you are an alcoholic, who controls you? The alcohol. If you're a drug addict, who's the controller? The drug. If you are an addict of technology, who controls you? This is bringing the humans in and technology together. They went from smartphones and they've now gone to what they call wearables. These are the Bluetooth in the ear. These are the Google Glass, and these are the Apple Watches. And they're pushing this along faster and faster because they have to get this done before enough people awakened.
Bei mir im Studio begrüße ich Zukunftsforscher Oskar Villani. Schönen guten Abend.
Hallo.
Das ist nämlich jetzt ungewöhnlich, dass wir uns begrüßen mit Handschlag, aber in diesem Fall hat das einen Sinn. Warum? Wir hören, ein implantierter Chip wird von manchen Politikern gewünscht, aber das ist gar nicht mehr notwendig. Warum?
Naja, das ist Schnee von gestern. Ich habe Ihnen da jetzt gerade ein paar hundert Mikrochips in die Hand gegeben. Die werden für die nächste Woche bis 14 Tage an Ihrer Hand kleben.
Aber meine Hand ist leer.
Ja, das sehen Sie nicht. Die sind ganz winzig klein. Wenn Sie genau schauen, werden Sie sie schon sehen. Das sind so ein Viertel so dick wie ein menschliches Haar.
Was würde man jetzt damit wissen von mir?
Ich kann Sie damit rund um die ganze Welt verfolgen. In weiterer Folge könnte ich auch so Dinge wie Ihren Blutdruck messen, Ihren Zuckerhaushalt, ein paar biometrische Daten, das ist schon drinnen. Man muss vor dieser Technologie an sich nicht Angst haben, aber vor dem, was aus politischem Dilettantismus oder aus Gier daraus gemacht wird.
Das heißt, der technische Fortschritt hält nicht Schritt mit dem Schutz vor Missbrauch.
Das ist ganz richtig, er hält aber auch nicht mit, und schon seit langer Zeit hält sozusagen der geistige, der ethische Fortschritt nicht Schritt mit dem, was technisch möglich ist.
it has been going on actually officially since 50s. 53, CIA was putting electrodes into the brain and teeth of people, so-called Project Moonstruck. That was to follow them and to control them. And of course, since that time, the electrodes, quote, quote, have become smaller and smaller and smaller. But it's usually done with the vaccinations, because already in Vietnam War, the soldiers, Americans, were chipped in the vaccinations, and in Iraqi First War they were also already chipped, and they were even given orders when they had the chip in the body through the satellites and through their supercomputers. They were given orders straight into the brain, and this is verified. I mean, this is just a fact. And now they're putting it into the civilian population, like with the swine flu vaccine, and with many other ways. They can put them into drinks, they can put them into the food, into the meat, whatever. The aim is to get every single person on this planet to be microchipped. Well, nobody officially in the mass media says what happens when you're microchipped. They have different programming for different people. Some people are programmed just to be observed, what they're doing, and their reactions to certain things. Some people are programmed to hear voices in their head. That's called synthetic telepathy. Then some people can be programmed to become totally insane and start shooting in their schools or the shopping centers people whom they don't even know. And then if it's delta programming, they are also programmed to shoot themselves, so you don't have any evidence. And that is a weapon. A microchip is a weapon when it's beamed with electromagnetic beams, and then it makes you act however you are programmed to do. So it's very, very negative. But this is never coming out in the mass media. It's only the positive effects. You know, if you're paralyzed, you can be walking again. If you're blind, you can see again. If you're deaf, you can hear again. Yeah. But your private life is totally gone for the rest of your life, because they can see with your eyes, they can hear with your ears, and they can influence you. And they can influence your dreams, your subconscious, and they can read all your thought signals. They want to observe and they want to control. And who do they want to control? It's not just the military, but all the leaders. Leaders of the world. And the leaders of the world meet in Bilderberger meetings or Trilateral Commission or Aspen Institute or wherever. Now, do you think that they would skip for being microchipped? No, of course not. But maybe their microchipping is a different programming than the rest of us. It's totally possible. Because if you think of today's leaders, quite a few of them behave like they would be biological robots taking orders. I mean, it's on the very, very top. Or then are they, some of them, psychopaths? There's a lot going on in this field which is not positive. And it's definitely not positive for the population of the world that everybody is going to be microchipped. So I think that everybody who is chipped and knows about it, and those who don't, they should again take their energy and decide that I am not going to be steered from outside. I decide I want to do certain things. I want to spread love. I want to spread awareness. I want to send information. And those from outside who are beaming, they are not going to succeed. And if we all put this energy out, they're really not going to succeed. They didn't succeed with the swine flu injections either. Yeah. So something happened there. The universe helped us, I think.
you've got very young children thinking it's okay to tag things that are precious to them. So you can imagine the conversation going something like, well, Mummy, you tag my teddy, and I love my teddy. Why don't you tag me? Do you not love me? And that deep psychological sort of, it's okay to tag things that you love because that's how we operate in society. But I wouldn't be at all surprised if there was some sort of government or industry hand in this.
El volcán Popocatépetl y el volcán de fuego de Colima, ubicados en México, se han convertido sin duda en los centros de actividad ovni más recurrentes del mundo, de acuerdo a la calidad y número de evidencias que se produce en sus alrededores.
El Popocatépetl, según ellos, marca como una etapa nueva en el planeta y en especial para nosotros, los humanos que habitamos esta región, ¿verdad? Entonces, el Popo va a ser como un parteaguas en donde vivimos de esta manera, hizo erupción y viene la nueva etapa, pero tiene que ser en su momento. ni antes ni después. Y la gente del espacio está muy al pendiente de todos los volcanes, pero del Popo en particular, porque tiene que ver con el nuevo despertar de conciencia de nosotros, los que habitamos esta región.
Continuamente están sacando esa información y se refiere a ciertos seres que son los Anunnakis.
Esos seres que mencionas son seres que corresponden a un bando de extraterrestres, pues que nos han querido subyugar y doblegar. Hicieron modificaciones, pero no se lo de ahí el ser humano. Salieron una especie de androides, de antropoides, que ni eran changos ni eran humanos, para utilizarlos en las labores que ellos les surgían. Hay seres que continúan tratando de que el ser humano no se libere de condicionamientos hipnóticos y mentales para que deje de vivir con las costumbres que nos han impuesto. Y esto pues está en contubernio con gobiernos mundiales que les interesa que sigamos manejándonos así y no quieren que haya cambio. Pero muy a su pesar, sí, los cambios que se avecinan van a poner en su lugar a toda clase de seres, incluyendo a los extraterrestres manipuladores. Podemos decir que hay dos grupos de extraterrestres: los que están velando por el despertar del humano para que se convierta en un suprahumano. Los seres de luz, los seres que quieren la evolución tuya, no te ponen chips ni te manipulan de esa manera. Y están los otros que quieren que la humanidad siga dejándose conducir como si estuvieran sumidos en un trance hipnótico. No renieguen, no se subleven y se dejen llevar ciegamente, manipulando esto a través de lo que es la influencia del dinero, los créditos bancarios y de todo. O sea, el ser humano está aprisionado en deudas y en compromisos que no quiere, pero que los sistemas lo atraparon. Hay una raza negativa que quiere mantener al ser humano cautivo, que no piense en ideas ni de libertad, ni de evolución mental y espiritual. Por eso los duermen con fútbol, con béisbol, con películas, con cosas, y sobre todo películas de gente alienígena que viene a dominarnos, para que tengamos temor y no aceptemos ayuda de los seres que sí nos quieren dar la mano. Entonces todo eso está confabulado para crear un ambiente en donde el ser humano diga: bueno, si hay o no hay, no me interesa. Yo teniendo que comer, viendo el fútbol, viendo todos los eventos que nos presentan, pues la vida es así, tenemos que seguirla.
Hoy os hablaré de una de las razones más importantes para entender por qué este planeta está como está, por qué este planeta está sumido en guerras, en caos y en destrucción constante. Y se trata precisamente para reducir la vibración de la Tierra. Como todos sabéis, todo cuerpo físico, cualquier objeto material, sea un árbol, una mesa, cualquier objeto, por insignificante que nos resulte, emite una frecuencia. Todos, absolutamente, estamos conectados a frecuencias de todo tipo. Hasta el objeto más simple las emite y empuja al resto de átomos, y así infinitamente vivimos en un universo en que todo está interconectado. Una cosa afecta a la otra. En efecto cadena. Imaginaos lo que es vivir en un planeta como el nuestro. La gigantesca vibración de su campo electromagnético nos afecta de forma determinante a cada una de nuestras células. El tiempo, nos dicen algunos expertos, parece como que se está acelerando. ¿Quién de vosotros no ha percibido en los últimos años como si el tiempo transcurriera más deprisa? Esto es un hecho. Es decir, nuestra percepción es que transcurren 16 horas, no 24. Algunos expertos aseguran que esto forma parte de un ciclo cósmico en el que la Tierra se alinea con otras vibraciones cósmicas que la afectan. Algunos aseguran que nos encontramos dentro de una especie de cinturón de fotones de alta densidad de partículas. Los mayas, no olvidemos que nos hablaban del centro galáctico del Hunapku, que llamaban ellos, y que cada 5.125 años se producía una serie de radiaciones, de flashes de energía, y que estas pulsaciones estarían afectando a la Tierra para que realizara una ascensión vibratoria. Eso podría propiciar cosas tales como un despertar de conciencia en el ser humano. El hombre probablemente activaría esas famosas 12 hélices, las 12 hebras de su ADN, y se elevaría hacia un estado en el que podría crear como una especie de cuerpo de luz. ¿Acaso se está generando un ciclo natural de evolución que este gobierno secreto quiere frenar, reduciendo drásticamente la vibración de la Tierra para que no despertemos a la realidad universal, a la realidad del espíritu, de que verdaderamente somos algo más que materia? Todos los seres vivos, de forma natural, generamos esta poderosísima influencia. Como dije antes, una vibración afecta a la otra en cadena, y ellos lo saben. Por eso quieren impedir que nos elevemos hacia la frecuencia de la armonía, del amor, de la empatía, porque eso tendría unos efectos terribles para ellos. Se les hundiría su sistema, que está basado en la polaridad, la avaricia, la dualidad, el ego, la separación, el conflicto. Esta agenda que tienen estos señores, estos testaferros humanos que están al servicio de estas entidades, tiene una agenda que va desde guerras, epidemias y sobre todo una gran intoxicación mediática para que se deforme nuestra percepción de la realidad. Nos manipulan mentalmente para que acabemos creando la realidad que a ellos les interesa, no la nuestra, no nuestra realidad. O sea que nos activan para autodestruirnos y para servirles a ellos en bandeja nuestra energía.
New Year's resolutions are just another form of procrastination. People just set targets that are way too big, get frustrated, have self-doubt, and give up on them before spring. You need to break up your goals into tiny pieces so that each one is within reach. And how about you start off with doing something that's achievable right now, in this instant? Why can't we begin by just being more thoughtful and respectful towards each other? As Anthony Gucciardi points out, why can't we carry that holiday spirit into the rest of the year? Why does it only apply for a few days?
It's the holiday time. Try to be a little bit nicer. Can you imagine what would happen if we extended this holiday spirit to every single day? There's no holiday spirit. There's the human spirit. There's actually caring about people. We just choose to express these sides sometimes only during the holidays, only during Christmas.
Look, instead of drowning out the crushing reality of how utterly pointless your life is by self-medicating with booze, drugs, and vapid entertainment, why not address the source of the problem? You're constantly inebriated because you're trying to distract yourself from the voice of conscience. You're so desperate to create enough noise so that you no longer have to hear the resonance of your true human spirit. A resonance that demands you fill your life with meaning. Meaning based on having principles and striving towards something authentic. A rejection of self-defeating nihilism, hedonism, and debauchery. And that doesn't mean that you can't have fun, but you've got to earn it. And you don't earn it by just creating vague, meaningless lists that you're just going to end up ignoring anyway. You don't earn it by drowning out the voice of conscience. You earn it by having focus, discipline, and making your life about authenticity and principles. You earn it by taking small steps every day to become the human that you truly want to be.